Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Macon-Bibb County Committee of the Whole. Today is Tuesday, November the 8th, and the time is approximately 9:07. We do appreciate everyone being here this morning. We have a lot going on today, and I think there's a lot of great things happening in our community. But first of all, let me remind everyone, both here and at home, that today is a very important election day. No matter how you vote, we want you to show up, exercise the right that you've been given to vote. And we ask everybody to do that. Today is the final day from 7 to 7. In the event that there's any polls that get extended hours because of any complications, we'll put notice out there about that extension as well after we speak with the Board of Elections in that regard. So make sure everybody get out to vote today. Today is the last day to do that from 7 o'clock to 7 o'clock. And at this time, I'll officially call our meeting to order. We do have an update on the amphitheater that will happen in just a couple of moments, but we have a few announcements to make ahead of time. The first thing I want to do is do the approval of the minutes from October 11th, 2022 meeting. Can I get a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Wynn. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Wilder. He's in my left ear today. We got a motion and a second. No further discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries. We also have an update or announcement this morning. I'll ask our attorney, Adriana Beavers, to come forward and give us a announcement regarding some exciting film news in Macon.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mayor Miller. As Mayor Miller said, I do have an exciting update about a film project in Macon-Bibb County. This Thursday, the intersection between 2nd and Houston Avenue will be experiencing intermittent traffic control due to the filming of the Possum Trot film. That will be from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. There are plenty of alternate available routes available, so everyone just keep that in mind when planning your commute. The intersection will be, of course, available. It just may be slowed down with that intermittent control. It is Possum Trot.
You heard it correct. Very good story. I hope everyone will really pay attention to that when a little bit more information comes out. Commissioner Lucas.
Yeah, I'm real pleased, always real pleased. And I understand the credits are still in place for these companies that are doing movies all over. My only concern remains, as it has been for years and years, that our citizens are not always benefiting from having all of this activity and disruption in our community and potential damage to the community. And I know Macon has lots and lots of different places that these folks love to film, but I would like to get some information as to what our citizens, how our citizens are benefiting, whether they're getting local caterers who are making that money rather than having caterers out of Atlanta or whatever. I'd also like to know if citizens whose properties are out of service during that time, they don't have access to it, whether they're compensated. I understand that over in Lake Arrowhead this week there's some filming going on at the lake out there. I'd like to know whether the homeowners who received notices saying that there would be disruption. This is election day, and what kind of disruptions are there in that neighborhood? And the main thing, though, is the compensation, because in Savannah, everything that you do as far as a movie, if you interrupt the hours of operation, you get paid. If a certain section of sidewalk, there are fees in place. And these companies are making money, and we love having them. But I would also like for our citizens to always benefit. And there's more and more that are taking place here. So I'd like to see our citizens see why or how our benefiting, even to the extent of being a part of the cast. Serving as extras, and I know some of that's going on. I'd just like to know. I don't know whether anybody else is interested in that, but that would be good, because those are job opportunities for our constituents. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. We'll ask Gary Wheat, who's running the show on that, to get you the information. Certainly, there's everything that you just discussed has already been addressed, but perhaps you don't have the information, so I'll make sure he gets it to you.
I probably don't.
Yeah.
I'd like to.
But, and Senator Lucas, I know, supported that as well, so perhaps he can
Yeah,
help us
he's
with that
on
as
one
well.
of the state committees working on that, but the details that I'm asking for are special deals that are made locally, and I'd like to know what I can tell people that are there are opportunities with the film industry, since we in Georgia are the ones footing the bill for the credits and foregoing those fees and all that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beavers. We're going to move into the alcohol licenses fairly quickly. I hope all four on this agenda are recommended approval. So we'll go through each of those just briefly. Item 3A is a new alcohol beverage license for Macon Crab House located at 4890 Presidential Parkway. This is a restaurant that's been open. They're adding another beverage that they're going to be serving there. They meet all legal qualifications, and recommended action is for approval. I get a motion to approve. Motion by Commissioner Wynn. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Commissioner Howell. Any other questions? Hear no questions. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries, will be sent to consent agenda. Item B is a new alcohol beverage license for Bloomfield Package located at 3485 Rocky Creek Road, Macon, Georgia. That also meets all the legal qualifications there. All the testing's been done, the measurements have been done to the places in that area, and it should be part of your complete package. This is a renewal. All those in favor, I'm actually going to get a motion to approve. I'll make that motion. Can I get a second? Second on Commissioner Tillman. Any discussion regarding that item? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries, will be sent to consent agenda. Item C is a new alcohol beverage license for Melody Mart located at 2487 Rocky Creek Road. That's adjoins the business that we just voted on just a moment ago. Legal recommends approval. All the measurements been done and all the things necessary to satisfy our local and state law regarding that issue has been approved. As my motion, can I get a second? Second, who is that? Commissioner Wilder. We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Wynn, you have a question?
It says these are right next to each other, is that right?
That's correct.
Is one a club and one just sells alcohol? Is that
One of them is a convenience store that sells, a C-store that sells gas as well as beer and wine, and the other is a liquor store that's been in that location for a long time.
Okay, but they're different businesses.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Another question, Ms. Lucas?
Yeah, do the IT folks have that map that we've looked at from time to time, which shows where all the alcohol is available for the benefit of all the winos and anybody else that's interested?
They have it. It's not part of our
Do
presentation.
y'all?
It's not part
Y'all
of our
don't have
presentation
it.
today.
I'd
Yeah.
like for us to look at that and be kept up on, because I know there's a lot of it available, and I know that these are legitimate. You know, folks go through all the hoops and everything and get the licenses, but I think people, when you see all of the spots that alcohol is available, it really hits you. It's a bit of information that I think we all need to be aware of.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas, for asking that again.
Oh, you just.
It's a reminder from last time, I understand. Commissioner Watkins, you have something, sir?
Yes, I was just, as a reminder, if at the next, every time we meet, we do alcohol beverage licensing. So as a reminder, could we have the map provided as part of the presentation next time, please?
You talking about the map for this location or the overall map?
Map. When the
Okay.
Commissioner
It'll
Lucas
be the
just
same about every
referenced it.
time, but that's fine. We'll just copy and paste it. You're welcome. All right, we do have a motion and a second. So no further questions regarding this particular item. We'll take a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries 7-1. Will be sent to consent agenda. All right, we're going to move on to the update on the amphitheater. We have a large number of folks here today. We have a presentation for you, some, I think, video and some animation, as well as some great pictures. The moment we've been waiting for quite a while. And we have several companies that's been very involved in this since day one. Let me tell you what this is and what this is not. This is not a discussion concerning finances at the Macon Mall. This is an update on the drawings and the construction of what's right now is the Macon-Bibb County Amphitheater that's been moving along fairly well. And I think we have members of all the construction, from the architects, from the concessionaires and promoters are here today, and they're prepared to go through a presentation of that you'll sit back and enjoy in just a moment. Before we begin, Commissioner Tillman?
Mr. Mayor, are you making an appeal or a request to commissioners not to ask about $40+ million in finance? I want you to be clear what you're saying when you say it's not a discussion on whatever. So let's be clear what you want to discuss and what we need to ask as commissioners today.
This is an update on the mall, as we promised you before, for all the drawings and renditions that's been done on there. This is not a financial conversation today. So yes, sir, I'm very clear on that. Thank you. All right. Commissioner Watkins?
I'm curious on when we're going to do the financial update, and along with I've been curious, have the bonds gone to market for the $40+ million yet? Or
Yes, sir. They actually oversold about $76 million within the first 3 hours.
76 million?
No, we have $40-something million
Okay.
like you voted on, but we had offers out there for up to $76 million.
And just because I'm curious, when did that take place?
It happened when the last time we told you it happened back earlier in the year.
You answer. No, sir. What
Yes, sir,
month?
we told you.
No, so tell me.
I'm not telling you again, sir. You were here for the same meeting that we all went to. We sold the bonds at market that day, and it happened. So this is not a financial conversation today. This is an update on the amphitheater. So we'll begin with the presentation. Mr. Ford, I'll turn it over to you. I think we're going to begin with the construction today with Piedmont. Is that correct?
Good morning, Mayor, and good morning, Commission. Commissioners, we are here to give you all an update. My name is David Thompson with Piedmont Construction Group. My partner in this was TVS, who will introduce their teams in a few minutes. TVS is going to walk you through an animated version of the site. What we're proud to say is last Friday, December 4th, they delivered the 100% construction drawings.
November the 4th.
Huh? Did I say
November.
November 4th, last Friday. Yes, see, someone's listening. That's shocking. But we've turned them in for permit at this point, and design is complete. Permitting is underway, and what I'm going to show y'all is something that's going to be available at any time when you would like to get a quick update and you're sitting at your desk. We have site work and utilities underway. We have something called EarthCam, which is located on the building. It's available through Piedmont's website, and with that, we'll give you a quick synopsis of what we've accomplished out there on site and where we are as of 7 o'clock this morning. It's a time lapse from October 1st. As you can see right at the very end, very quickly, we're starting to do the terracing in the back to build up the bowl, which will be seen. It will be like watching paint dry up until March, at which point you will start to see the steel going in place. It's pretty impressive. They're going to show you what I am amazed by is you'll see 2 sets of columns. You can fit a football field between the 2 sets of columns. That gives you an idea of the size of this facility. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to TVS to do a much more exciting walkthrough, an animated walkthrough of what they've got, which Emery, Tom, Philip, Jennifer, and Asha.
Good morning. My name's Emery Leonard. I'm with TVS Design. I've brought some of my team here with me. to watch this presentation for you all. But yes, this is a design update. We got some really nice pictures to show you and kind of give you a sense of what the amphitheater is. And again, thank you for selecting us for this project. It's been a really great exercise for us. And I think, you'll see that you're going to have one of the best amphitheaters in the state, really. And the column-free experience is like none other in the state. None of your competition will have that as a part of their design. But go ahead. And what we've got is some still renderings, images of generally. Oh, okay, on that side, not that side. Great. Yeah. So what these are, there's sort of foreshortened, flattened images that go around the building, and then we've got some 3Ds as well. So the building, it's a pretty broad building here, and you can see how it sits with the mall to the left. North is up on this drawing, and you can see what we call kind of the bowl, which is that portion of the green to the back. We've got the canopy, which is over much of the seating, and that canopy is where we've got columns to either side, and no columns in the way of anyone seated either in the lawn or in the seats. And this is the one of the entry views as you're kind of walking in. There's two entrances into the facility, really to give you the ability to walk around the mall from parking that exists on the north and the south, primarily from the mall. So that excuse me, that experience for your guests starts as they park their car and approach the building. This is the backside, and down low you can see all the loading docks and some of the back of house service, which we also tried to pay close attention to. So this was a very highly functional operational facility to really separate that back of house function from the front of house guest experience. And this is looking sort of center from the lawn at the stage and the canopy. And you can see here very clearly those two columns that are on either side, no columns in the way for that covered expression. And this is if you're on the stage looking back out at the lawn. And then we have a couple of areas that for an upgraded experience. This we call it the skybox. I'm sure will be branded at some point, is one way to see. And this is if you're sitting in that skybox looking over the lawn down towards the stage and the activity going on. This is one of the many plazas where we have available areas to set up differently for concessions, for restroom access, for any other type of enhanced event activity. This is one of the side entries. This is within that skybox. There's an upgraded experience available that could be used during a show, could be used not during a show. It's a flexible space with seating out in front. This is looking back into that space. And then keep going to the next one. This is there in the center. There are three of these suites that could be gained together for a larger meeting room experience or a larger group experience for the event. And then, of course, the stage itself looking out, which we hope is really fantastic experience, not just for the guests and the people who will come from all over central Georgia to Macon, but also for the talent that will come from all over the country. This really gives you a great view, the idea being this is sort of arrival before the show starts. You get a sense of the canopy, the bowl as we call it, where all the seating is, and that sort of arced plaza where the skybox sits. The seating bowl is flanked by two wings for concessions and restrooms, and really I think what'll give you a better sense of the overall picture is a animation that we made just quickly from the same model that we used to create the construction documents that David spoke of. And if you'll run that, you can take a glimpse at it, and I'll try to tell you what you're looking at. So you're coming from the northeast and swinging around to the southwest. Here you can see the skybox, you see the high canopy, and the bowl, as we call it, with the variety of seating options. You've got what I call the arced plaza there that gets you access. There's an entry gate that we just flew over, one of two. The second one you'll see here in a minute to the right as you're looking down on the lawn. And then you can see some of the access into the bowl and swinging around to the backside where all the trucks and buses and folks that will be supporting each and every event will do their work. The buildings that are in and under to the sides of the canopy house a kitchen, house the talent area of green rooms and dressing rooms, house the concession areas and the restrooms. And then you swing around to the east side looking at that skybox. There's a couple of vomitories where you can access kind of through under the skybox through onto the lawn. But this is that enhanced experience up at the top of the lawn where you can have maybe an elevated food and beverage opportunity. But you still have the seating directly out in front of that, elevated a little bit above the lawn. And you're sweeping back to look at the stage and that canopy with the column-free view. And the pit seating with the movable chairs down at the bottom of the stage. And that's not me. Is sizable and has some side stage areas for setup. It also has room directly behind it for storage and setup. And this is, I'm sure, what everyone will want to do is get up on stage. And this is in the mid on the right side there, where there's fewer chairs, is another opportunity for an enhanced experience. But again, there's no bad view because there's no columns anyway. This is one of the plazas associated with some of the restroom access and concession access, and there's some areas to the side of the seating that can be used for other tent setups, other experiences. This is the gate that really leads on access more or less directly back to the mall entrance. So hopefully that gives you a better sense of how it fits within the site and what a great use of that land this will be. A great asset for Macon.
If you don't mind putting that picture back up there of the rendering showing the event time. Can you do that? Yeah, that one there. The picture there. So I think that's a good picture to look at when asking questions regarding this. If you don't mind, just talk a little bit about the emphasis that's been had about the back of the house and why it's important to have such a back of the house the way we do, and any attention that y'all paid to for ingress and egress to make sure people can get in there in a safe manner and be able to disperse in a relatively quick manner as well. And then the intent to make sure that the concession and restroom area are sufficient for this amount of people, 10,000.
Sure. Well, one thing you had obviously in your favor is that this is a mall, and it was planned already with a lot of ingress, egress for vehicles. And so we took advantage of that, right? And this really doesn't displace much of the parking out there, and you have plenty of parking. You have more than you need, almost twice what you need to support a facility like this. And so because you have such convenient entry and exit, and so many opportunities, we thought it would be great to separate the guest experience from the back of house experience. So, and what that does obviously is it makes for a great guest experience, and it makes for an efficient back of house experience because the trucks and the buses don't necessarily cross the people coming into the venue. And so, so we situated ourselves kind of in the corner of the site and allow the back side to really function freely without guest interruption for setup and takedown. And meanwhile, the front side fully embraces the main ways we see pedestrians coming into the venue, which is from the parking on the south side of the mall and from the parking on the north side of the mall, which is why we have two entries, which you can see in this image. There's one to the right, which is probably a little bit larger and is more or less on axis with the existing mall entry. And then we have the one on the left, which feeds directly into some additional parking to the north. And so we tried to grab both of those pedestrians and allow them to easily move into the building, into the facility for their concert. For the concessions and the restrooms, those, they're not all put in one spot. They're allowed to happen in multiple spots. So we tried to take a large amount of restrooms, which you would obviously need to support 10,000 concert goers, and we spread them around primarily in the wings, which are to either side of the canopy, the sort of the long low buildings that you can see kind of lit up a little bit brighter on the right-hand side. They also live underneath the skybox on that lower level as well, with easy access direct to the vomitories. There is a concession stand in either wing. There's also some food service locations in the skybox, and there's a lot of areas for hookup. If you look closely, zoom in, and you'll be able to do this with your images here. You can see there's a lot of pop-up opportunities for food trucks, for other food service carts, beverage carts, those kinds of things that can be placed at whatever placement makes sense for you for whichever event. And so we tried to make it flexible, but kind of have a main kitchen, have some concession stands that are permanent, but also have allow for some flexible locations depending on show setup.
Thank you. I'm trying to give you a couple lead-ons to make sure that before we get questions, you'll have an opportunity to get more into depth of what we're talking about. But I'm glad you mentioned the food trucks. I think that it's important to let folks know that we want this to have a local flair. I mean, we want to promote some of our local vendors that are known for their food products, and it's something that we can do fairly easy. And I know we have our OVG 360 partners here today as well. But also talk about when you go to an event like this, you want to be able to hear what's going on, and tell me what kind of attention that you paid through the design process is to make sure that everyone gets to hear the best music they can hear, and how you determine that based on the structures, the positioning of everything, including the sun. I think a lot of folks may not either remember or realize that this was rotated a little bit, the amphitheater was, because they did a 365 sun view to know where the sun was going to be coming up and setting, and what kind of view would happen at the time there. So I want people to know that everything has been considered over this last several months of this design, and that's why it's taken the amount of time that it has. But if you could talk a little bit about that, the placement of that for the performer as well as the patrons there, and include the sound and the portion there and what we've done to do that.
Yes.
Yeah, he mentioned restrooms already, but yeah.
Yes.
More than sufficient for 10,000 people.
Yeah, the code requirements these days actually require more women's than men's. So you'll see if you look closely. Yeah.
It's almost 2 to 1. Yeah.
The ratio of people to facility is favorable to women more than it is to men because it's quicker. But so yes, the code requires that these days, and there are a lot. I mean, toilets for 10,000 people, you can imagine that there's a lot of them.
And talk about the sound.
But yes, we have a large team, and that team includes acoustic consultants. We also we have theater consultants as well, and we, the project that you see now is very similar to our original proposal when we competed to win the job. It hasn't changed too much, but we did do a deeper dive into study both the sun and the acoustics, because in the rotation of the building, we tried to balance between those two. I mean, the building is there for concerts, and those concerts mostly happen in the evening, but we want to be sensitive to that sound and where it goes as it leaves the site, and also and as you're arriving, and for the performer on the stage, to try to balance, the sunlight that might, be to your side as the show starts, but also how the sound, and so where the sound gets directed. So we did analyze both of those to try to balance between acoustics and sunlight, and also again welcoming the guest experience from those parking lots, so that we weren't turning our back on the pedestrians as they come in the building. And so so the rotation now was about balancing those two things, keeping the sound aimed away from the residential, but not turning it so far towards the sun that it's disruptive.
questions? Commissioner Bronson?
Going back to the restroom situation,
Okay.
unisex bathrooms and family rooms. That's the first question I want to ask about. And of
Yes, sir.
course, Wi-Fi availability.
We do have
Primary
those,
availability.
yes, and they're located in primarily in the wings. The wings have they're sort of men's and women's gang together, sort of back to back, and there's 4 sections of that, 2 in each wing, and then there's family restrooms associated with that entry, right there with those as well. And then even on the back side, we have a much larger restroom, but it can be accessed both from the center and from the edges simultaneously.
And while you're talking about it, would you mind just touching on briefly the ADA requirements and how the attention was paid to making sure that everyone with any particular disabilities were able to enjoy the same things as everyone in this particular, including the upstairs suite areas?
Absolutely, yes. ADA is a big deal for these types of facilities. You want to make sure that people have access to all sections, all ticket prices as well. So every zone of seating has ADA accessibility, including the top of the lawn. The top of the lawn has some handicap accessible seating, both in the skybox itself, but also for general admission that would have otherwise paid for a lawn ticket. There's an elevator that allows you access to the skybox, and that can also be utilized by accessibility patrons.
I guess my last thing would thanks, Chris. I guess my last thing would be more so, I think you already hit on it too, security-wise. In the event of emergency, how quick or do we have enough access in reference to getting people out in the event that emergency does take place? And then the other part of that too would be security-wise. Will we have a on-station department for the security of our patrons there?
Yes, so the facility is fully fenced. We have a nicer fence up front than we do in the back, of course, but it is fully fenced. The fence on the back has 2 access points for trucks and service that are we have provided ways to monitor those with a guardhouse or other, if the operations folks need to do however systems they want to use for security monitoring. We have that, and then as far as your first question was not security, it was more about what again?
My first question was dealing with unisex bathrooms, but
You-
we've already addressed that piece.
Right,
I
right,
think,
okay.
Right.
I think he was talking about ingress and egress. What I was going to earlier, you may have thought I was talking about parking outside. Really, I'm talking about getting in and out of the amphitheater itself.
Oh yes.
Right.
So obviously, life safety is very important to us.
Yes.
That's how we're licensed to design buildings that follow the code for life safety. So yes, but you are, because it's an outdoor facility, at least in terms of fire and smoke. We have done an analysis of smoke if it happens underneath that canopy. What happens? And it's so open that it leaves the facility. But you're outdoors, which is obviously to the benefit for those kinds of events, and it's wide open, so it's easy to exit.
Okay.
We have more egress capacity than we do people in terms of width and accessibility, so we have that as well. I'm sure, and we have been working with the operations folks, providing a security room where they can monitor, and also just again, it's part of that understanding of the front of house and the back of house and how the two of those work together and can be separated, and how the talent might have its own more private zone as well. So all those factors of thinking about how the building functions is critical, both to what you're talking about, but also to life safety.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bronson. Commissioner Wynn?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. And David, remember this in future developments about bathrooms. Isn't it interesting? That's the first thing we ask about. The first picture you put up of the I guess it's the similar rendition. Put that back up. Is that one already built somewhere?
That's
No,
ours.
not that. The one with the lights and all they just had up.
That's ours.
No,
that
is
right there. Is that's ours?
That is it. That is
and
your
I think that's
project.
wonderful. I know it's a 10,000 seat facility. How many seats will there be in that bowl? And then how much, the rest I guess would sit in the grassy area and the boxes. Is that correct? But how many seats do you have in the bowl?
That's correct. The lawn is intended to seat about 6,000, and then the balance of that 4,000 are provided with seats, either in the section up close to the stage, which we call the pit, or in the fixed seating areas above that, what's between that and the lawn.
But there is handicap seating in the grassy area?
There's handicap seating and handicap access through ramps to all sections.
Very good. That's great. Thank you.
And the pit area also, if many of you have been to the amphitheaters before, that's the place where you have the tables and chairs. We didn't have the tables and chairs necessarily, the round tables for events that you have there. That's one reason that you see the portable chairs in the very beginning of the mosh pit, if you want to have that open for dance, or whether you want to have that with tables and chairs for events, or if you want to just have it, the seating capacity there. So it's one way you could do that.
Those seats are loose. You can set that up in different ways. We design it to 10,000 seats, so we make sure that we've got enough loose seats that can be arranged in a way to provide aisles and access.
It also can be used for other events, festivals, as well as graduations and reunions and things like that for the community as well. So it made it a good way to versatile that area there.
So the seating in the front can be rearranged a little bit down
Yes.
there. Does that canopy go over that seated area?
It does. It goes over the pit entirely, and then it covers. It goes. There's a large cross aisle that separates two zones of fixed seating, and it goes and covers to the extent of that cross aisle.
This design looks like a big bird out there, you know.
If
I
you
know,
look-
the,
if you look
I
at
know
that-
the mayor said it has an M kind of.
Yeah, it's
There
got
you
an
go.
M. But if you look at that cross aisle there, you'll see right there at the left, looking at that picture, the left pole, you'll see a very wide area there for a walkway. That gives a lot of area to travel to and through there. I think that's what he's talking about, where the roof actually covers there and you have some more seating. There's also additional, what he refers to is what the experience I refer to as like VIP area there as well, which will allow you to have service from your seat by way of on your telephone. You can order your food, they can bring it to you there, those types of things. So anyway, I'll let you keep asking questions. You through, Commissioner Wynn?
Yeah, well, I was
That's
going to say that the amount of seating that's covered actually helped us get to a column-free experience.
Oh, okay.
If the roof had continued to stretch out over that zone, we would have had to put columns in here. So the placement of the roof strategically allowed us to have a column-free experience.
Well, thank you for thinking about that too. But this is a great design. We thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you.
Commissioner Howell?
First, thank you guys for the thought and effort that y'all put in this and for the presentation. I know that you guys have studied this and put a lot more thought into it than first blush indicates. There was a point in my life when I served on the Planning Commission in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. And part of that, part of serving on the Planning Commission there, we approved all special events. One summer, a group came to Pigeon Forge, and they were bringing in some top talent groups, and it was like every night there was a concert, an open-air concert. And it was a great concept, and we were all for it until we realized that it backed up to the Smoky Mountains, and the sound coming off of the stage made it impossible for people to stay in their houses. So the fact that you guys thought about that and thought about the constituents that live around it, I want you to know that I appreciate it. You probably avoided a big controversy for us to have to deal with, and thank y'all for getting that in depth in your studies and how to turn the building. That means a lot.
Thank you, Commissioner Howell. Commissioner Jones?
Yes, sir. Very impressive presentation, and I appreciate what Commissioner Howell said about the sound, because we all have thousands and thousands of constituents, and I can assure you we hear from them regularly. But going back to sound, you said you consulted with acoustic experts, and sound is very important if you're a music lover, and many people are. So is the quality of the sound, because there are many major venues in the state of Georgia that don't have quality sound. You can't hear the words if the singers are coming at, or they're emulating. So there's not a clarity of sound in many venues, I guess is my point. And are we going to have any large screens on the side, or we don't need that?
Yes, so there's a certain baseline provided, baseline technical capability of the facility that's provided as a part of the project. So there are speakers, there is a way for you to sort of plug and play. Most of these acts, as we've worked with OVG 360 and even some of our own consultants, most of these acts do bring in their own equipment. And so in anticipation of that, we have a substantial hang grid that is supported above the stage and actually goes out into the audience a little bit as well. And that hang grid has sufficient capacity to support additional speakers, whatever they want to bring in, additional speakers, screens, all of those kinds of things that are individual to each show. They bring them in on their trucks, they unload them, and they lift them up and put them into place, and plug them in. But we also wanted to make sure that you didn't have to do that. If you had a community show or something, a graduation, those kinds of things, you could enhance what you have, but you could certainly go with what's already in place as well. Most of the shows will probably unplug all that and bring their own and set it up and tune the building in their own way. But we wanted to make sure we had both.
But you have a basic system in place that will enhance what they bring if it's needed.
Yeah, so there are speakers located at the edge of the canopy that make sure to reach out into the lawn area and get the sound out there. And then there are speakers hung, line arrays they call them, hung on either side of the stage for the folks that are closer in.
Nice. I don't know if that's in any other place in the state. Is it?
Yeah, a lot. That baseline system, varies. But yes, most need to be prepared to accept whatever show's going to bring and hang. And we've right-sized this, I think, to a show that would want to come to a place with 10,000 seats.
And we will have screens, or we don't need them there because of the size of
What
the
can I
venue?
tell you, what I can say about that, so we don't get too in the weeds about
Okay.
add-ons and subtractions, is we have all the necessary hardware run to each of those places. And what's the size screens we talked about? It's a huge.
Well,
Yeah.
they can get pretty heavy when they get big, so
Yeah.
we wanted to make sure we analyzed that and anticipated large screens.
Right. So there's a place, one on the stage and two on the side, I believe, there. Because some places they travel with those, or they request those as part of their rider. So we want to make sure we build it in case we need it. And I will say that a lot of this has been going on based on typical riders we see from musicians across the country, to make sure if we wanted to book this particular group in Macon, and I can tell you for the naysayers, there's no one that'll go to Atlanta that won't come to Macon, right? And I'll say that again, there's no act that will go to Atlanta that will not come to Macon, Georgia. They want the experience, they want the back of the house. The same money is green there as it is here, and certainly we're further enough away from Atlanta that you actually can double book some events. But we wanted to make sure if you had a particular group that you were trying to entice to come to Macon or put on that venue, that we had the capabilities on the back of the house to meet what they wanted. As a matter of fact, we looked at how many loading docks do we have to have back there. I don't think you mentioned that, but how many 18-wheelers can we put back there? A lot. If you look at the back of the house in that rendition, you'll see a large loop there, because if you can't meet the capacity, then they've already knocked you out of the box. How many people can you serve back there? How many green rooms do you have? You have one for the main act and for the secondary act and for the third act. If you don't have those, you can't. Now, the average person watching the performance may not see all that to appreciate how large that back area is. And we wanted to make that because in order to get those type of acts to come to Macon, or an added incentive for them to do that on their stop, is to have those things that they request. So I want you to know that all that's been going on. We have an amazing group of folks here that handle that. I don't want to put our OVG 360 on the hot seat, but I will, just from an overview. Dave, if you don't mind coming up front. We learn from challenges we have at our other facilities. And David, I just want you to talk just a little bit about the Coliseum capacity, auditorium capacity, and the need to have this, on how it can expand, but also how you've learned from some old antiquated systems that we have in those other facilities, that we can upgrade the experience and the capability of getting out of your seat and getting back in your seat with you know, a cold brew, local brew, or
Yeah.
maybe a nice ice cold Coca-Cola or something,
Yeah.
and get back to your seat with some good barbecue in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And make that very, you know, tap your phone and get back to your seat or order it on the phone. So if you could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Well, first off, good to see everybody. It's been a while since we've been up here. The thing we keep hearing in the industry specifically about this project is a natural progression. Obviously, you've got all the smaller theaters in Macon. You've got the auditorium at 2,500. You've got the arena at 6,500. And then this is kind of a natural step up for some of those bigger artists, which can fit over 10,000 people. The other thing we keep hearing as far as capacity goes is Atlanta can only hold so much. You're seeing that right now with ticket sales. The market's saturated. People specifically from Macon and South Georgia and Middle Georgia aren't going to go to Atlanta every weekend to see some of these top name artists. So with that being said, we keep hearing from the promoters and the agents that we need something in Middle Georgia, and this is the perfect fit for it. We went out and looked at a facility in Huntsville that would complement this. We're hearing that they're building one in Birmingham, which would complement this and route well with us. So there's a lot of positive things happening with that. As far as quality of events that are coming in and what patrons are going to feel when they come here, some of the things we're working on is concession stands we call just belly up stands, where you go up, you order a beer, you order a hot dog, it's brought to you. The other thing we're working on, and we're seeing a lot of success in other markets, is more grab and goes. So you go to the grocery store, you just want a can of milk or a can of beer, and then you go, you check out and you pay and you're out. You don't have to get a cart, you don't have to wait in line. Those are some of the things we're looking at here. Those obviously would be on the wings that we talked about and Emery and his team have put together. The other thing we've made sure to mention and include is we like to consider this like a baseball park. You think of the outfield, you've got the restrooms out there, but then along those restrooms, you're going to have power, you're going to have water access for those food trucks to come in and sell the local barbecue, the local beer. And the way we're looking at this is we want to have 1 point of sale per 100 people, which is more than sufficient enough. Obviously, some of our big concerns with the Coliseum is we don't have that ability to do that when we have 6,500 people in the building. It's just not enough space. So having this space, we can build out. The infrastructure is already there to even do some more lounges in the outfield, as we say that. The other thing with the VIP that we're looking at, and the mayor mentioned earlier, is ordering on your phone and having a waiter or a waitress bring it to you instead of having to go out and miss the show. So one of the big things we've worked with Emery and his team on is having a big enough kitchen in the back of house to tailor to those online orders, but also the concession stands and the premium hospitality area. So we've been able to gather a lot of information from similar facilities. Also take into consideration our struggles that we have with the two facilities locally and combine that to make this really a state-of-the-art facility.
Thank you, David. Other questions from commissioners? Commissioner Watkins?
Thank you, sir. And thank you for the presentation. Been anxious for the update for a while. I was, I guess, just so I'm on the same page, design, build means construction?
Correct. So we are partnered with the contractor instead of separately, which
Okay.
is actually the last project I did was done the same way.
I was curious, on the pit, is it grassed or is it, I guess, paved?
It's paved. It's concrete.
And then I guess so the seats are, I guess, heavy duty.
Yes.
I guess total, like, I guess permanent seats. You mentioned that a good chunk of them are, I guess,
It's
removable.
1,500 that can be moved around and 2,500 that are fixed.
Thank you. So it seems like you guys, and I saw the I guess the time lapse. Seems like you guys are trekking along when it comes to the build timeline. What is that timeline? Or
That'd be a David Thompson question. The last conversation he and I had is we're Labor Day through November, depending on everything getting brought in a time.
Yeah, we're, as you know, in the supply chain world, you know when you know. And commitments contractually get a little funny with when it's George Power supplying you a transformer that takes 76 weeks, things like that. We've made aggressive front-end moves working with the development team to pre-order, get in line for the steel production, the slots that are available. But yes, we're tracking in that area right now. And we'll
Labor
keep-
Day,
we'll keep y'all
November, if I
updated.
understood correctly.
Pardon?
You said Labor Day, November, if I understood correctly.
Correct, and we'll keep updating y'all as we learn. What
Roughly
you'll
12
learn.
months out. Okay, 10 to 12 months out.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I guess if I'm understanding correctly, all the value that engineering has been completed. We know what we're building. We know the cost of it, and
Not quite yet. We just got the final drawings on Friday. We're back out, and we'll know final cost in mid-December.
okay. But I guess we're definitely is under the 44 million. I assume. Is it?
We'll be definite when we get there. We'll make it work that way when we get to December. Correct.
All right. Talk to me a little bit about the diversity and inclusion plans. I know you seem like have you already started letting awards, or is that premature?
The RFP, the original RFP, you had to go ahead and list who you were using on your project. And I don't have the specifics with me today, but we were definitely we're using minority subcontractors from the front, from the beginning on this project, and encouraging that in subcontractors as well as suppliers. I can get you the information, but off the top of my head, it's been a long time. But we had to submit our team up front.
Off the top of your head, is there a goal or a benchmark that we're trying to achieve, and are we at or above said benchmark?
I believe we're at or above, and it was in the 15 to 20% range.
Thank you. I would like to see more information.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins. Anyone else from the commission? Commissioner Lucas?
Yeah, I wanted, I was going to ask basically the same question that Commissioner Watkins was asking. Because if you don't ask, you certainly won't get the answer. Mr. Morrison, you have any more information on the participation? Black folks doing some of the work, women doing some of the work, Indians, Asians, Hispanic, all of that. You have any, or y'all gonna get back to us on that?
Yeah, no, ma'am, we use the general county procurement protocols, which is what Mr. Thompson was referring to, and he would have to provide that information on the exact numbers. But I do recall from the selection committee that this was one of the teams that was above the minimum threshold, which was one of the considerations as to why this firm was selected. Thank you.
Okay, but more information to follow.
Correct.
Thank you.
Commissioner Watkins?
Yes, please provide more, because like 20, that'd be like 1/5, and anecdotally, I don't see anyone, and so please.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins. Any additional comments before we excuse these men and women? Commissioner Jones?
Last comment, just want to thank Piedmont and TVS and the whole team. This is going to be a tremendous project for Macon-Bibb County, and it's really going to set us apart from everything in the state, so I appreciate everybody's work involved.
And if you don't mind, all those that are come here today in preparation of this and been involved in it, if you don't mind standing up just so we can see who you are. Thank you. Appreciate. Thank you very much for being here. I know Commissioner Tillman has a final going away comment or question.
We're constantly thanking people that we're giving $40 to $70 million to, but
Not 47 now. Let's go.
they didn't thank us. So I was just curious, as I've heard the furthest city where amphitheater is, which is Huntsville, Alabama. which my friend Joe Douglas, before his death earlier this year, would do his annual event. Huntsville is such a far place that, and I think I heard you maybe mention something about it, David. I know you're familiar with it. It's so far away. More recently, just down the street, about 3 hours and a half, Tallahassee has one, and Montgomery has one. How is this one comparable? Well, let me go back to two. The one in Tuscaloosa and Tallahassee, because those are where the two of the largest colleges are, Alabama and Tuscaloosa, and FSU in Tallahassee. So we know that's a amphitheater that holds a large amount of folks. But I heard y'all mention Huntsville that don't have that big school. So how are those two facilities, if you looked at those two facilities, going to be compared to the one that we're doing here? And why did we have to go way over to Huntsville, look at Huntsville, and we had Tallahassee and Tuscaloosa's spot? So how are they compared? And if y'all are familiar with those.
I'll let him answer the technical questions, Jared, but just let me explain just one thing on the Huntsville. The reason we went to Huntsville is because they were in the middle of building their facility, and we wanted to see it being built and close to opening up. But more importantly, their amphitheater that's been knocking it out of the box for the last several months is situated in an old mall. So we were able to see all the development that sprung up around there, like a Top Golf, a Dave & Buster's, a Trader Joe's, all those types of things in that area that we can kind of get a good feel of what happens, and we've been able to follow that. So Huntsville was one of those ones. It's a different design. It's more like a Coliseum. It's a lot of concrete going around, but they do a lot of park things. So that's the reason that Huntsville was chosen. We also went to Southern Ground. I think it's the name of it, Southern Ground, just hour and a half away from here to kind of get a smaller venue to look at as well. And we've had some other folks go to a couple of the amphitheaters in Atlanta, not as a group, but individually. But the technical questions on that Commissioner Tillman asked you, I have no idea, so if you can explain or answer his questions on those.
And before you answer, let me just re-emphasize the question. Tuscaloosa has Alabama as a college, which has a larger number of folks. And then Tallahassee, FSU, has a large number of folks. So when we were talking about comparing how do we get folks in and out, that's why I was saying, did we look at those two facilities that every weekend that those games are taking place? I just thought that was more of a comparison than going to Huntsville.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe David Allo can help with the response to this too. Well, Huntsville, for example, I don't believe it has a roof. So, we did kind of go around and look at other facilities and see. Obviously, we paid the most attention to the ones that you're closest to, because those you're going to be competing against. The ones that are more remote, like Tallahassee, I believe would be part of a larger show's travel, right? So they would be, close enough proximity that they can grab a different audience than they would if they were in Macon, which I believe would be the case in Tallahassee. But far enough away that they could grab a different audience, but close enough that they could get there easily enough, and as they hop around their show. But yeah, we looked at your closest competitors and tried to see what we could do differently that would make this facility special. We think the column free is one piece of that. The quality of the back of house also for the talent, I think, is another piece.
And what was the most closest competitor?
Lakewood and Alpharetta. Those two are, size-wise are in the same ballpark.
Is Lakewood Stockbridge? Which one is Stockbridge? Because Stockbridge just created a new one or starting a new one?
Stockbridge is about 3,200, I think.
Yeah, they're a lot smaller. A lot of the newer ones that we saw popping up were they're in smaller markets like Stockbridge. They're directly competing with Lakewood and Alpharetta. But you all sit at a crossroads here with 16 and 75, and I think that's what David was mentioning. Even with Huntsville, they're not necessarily a competitor. They're potentially part of a package that a promoter would want to include as they map out the trek that the show would make across the Southeast. Did I say that right? Yeah. Good job.
You did good.
You good, Mr. Chipman?
That's it.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Wynn?
Yeah, I just want to kind of wrap it up, but just stay there. I want to thank you again. I want to thank you again. 44 million. Look what we're going to get for it. Ask the question, where do we get the folks from? We got Mercer here. We got Milledgeville. We got the Georgia College of Milledgeville, GMC, Fort Valley State. You just go down the list, and guess what? We got all of South Georgia that's going to want to come to Middle Georgia to this. I don't like to go to Atlanta, so I'm so glad this is going to be here where we can drive in, park, and get out of here. Atlanta's gotten to be where you don't even want to be up there. So Macon is going to be the center for these concerts that come in here because of our location. I promise you, the whole southern part of the state's going to come to this amphitheater. So thank you, Mayor, for your forethought on this too. And thank you for what you're doing. Big thank you.
Thank you too. I think I did say at the beginning to thank you for selecting us. I mean, we do appreciate, the opportunity to do something like this is uncommon, right? To get a project like this, so we're very excited about being a part of it.
Thank you. Commissioner Watkins?
So, two questions. I guess one, I'm curious about So, I'm curious about a financial update. When are we doing that? But also, I guess I'm also confused. I just need some clarity around if the prices haven't been locked in. Like I visually see, like what's being constructed now, or how does that part work?
We did a partial package that allowed us to go ahead and release underground utilities, concrete and steel. So what you're seeing now is the relocation of the Atlanta gas light main, all the stormwater, sanitary sewer, the grading, etc. The steel, which was a very long lead time item, those have been released, and that's what you're seeing now.
In an upcoming financial update, I'd be curious as to what that partial package was worth, and I guess you'll know everything in December if I'm understanding correctly.
Yes, sir.
All pieces. So I guess it'll be around that time we'll hear back.
Yes, sir.
All right, and we also hear back on the diversity and inclusion and where we're at with that as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, thanks for all of y'all selecting us.
All right. I think everyone's had a question asked and answered. We appreciate, number one, I'm very excited about this project. I hope people can get that. I think it's something that's going to be right in the middle of our bicentennial celebration. It's going to be a large part of that, and we're looking forward to closing out our year-end events next year at the amphitheater. It's something we all can be proud of, and a part of our community that's at some points of our community or our lives has been the heartbeat of Macon-Bibb County. So I'm certainly excited about it. We still have a long ways to go, but we're going to hold Mr. Thompson and his crew's feet to the fire. We are excited about the opportunities, and we appreciate the fact that everything's been ordered to start this process. And I want to remind everybody, we'll have it posted on our Facebook Live again, but you can go there and watch every day. You can go to that site, and you'll see it as it starts to move up, so you can see what's going on every day at that particular site, so everybody can know what's going on. So we appreciate everyone for being here today, for all the opportunities that we have. We're right on schedule. We thought this would last about an hour, and it did last an hour. So we're right on schedule. We have much more business to take care of today. Feel free to stay here if you like, but at this time, if you like to depart, we would certainly understand. All right, we're back on the record again. We're still on the record, but back in our meeting. We're going to move to appropriations, and we've had some people that have been waiting here for this part of that, and we appreciate your patience. We hope that you've enjoyed the presentation that we had here today as part of our community. But I'm going to begin the appropriations with a ordinance to authorize the appropriation of up to $2,151,240 in American Rescue Act funds for the purpose of funding various projects authorized by the American Rescue Plan, and the final rule concerning the expenditure of local government assistance funds under the American Rescue Plan. I'm going to move to the exhibit item real quickly to outline each of these on here. Some of these folks you have heard from before, and hopefully we won't have to go in detail again on those, but just kind of a breakdown of this. This is a resolution that encompasses all this right here. What this does is finishes up the first tranche of funding that we receive in the American Rescue Plan. And you'll see these numbers here add up to what we just discussed just a moment ago. Section 1 notates a $407,744 amount for American Rescue Plans for food distribution projects, grants. As you remember, before we designated, I think approximately $500,000 to that. We had people that applied for the grants, and we awarded about 17 grants to distribute food across Macon-Bibb County. And some of those are still going on now. At that time, we had several folks, probably 6 or 7 if I remember correctly, had requested these grants, but we had used the money. What we would like to do is to look at those 7 first as an opportunity to get money from American Rescue for the food distribution in the same process we did before, and then the remaining funds will be opened up to the same way we did before. Everyone has an opportunity to submit their plans. We will advertise that like we did last time. We had a lot of folks that took advantage of that. That total amount is the figure that I gave you. Section 2 is $500,000 of American Rescue Plan for Making Mental Health Matters. We've done 3 updates for you already this year on the great things that the company has done, including our last one just a couple of weeks ago. So it will be the same exact information if we had to do a presentation today. But I will say that their contract was up, and they've been continuing to do the work, and they've been a vital part to that. Also, I will say that they have already raised $140,000. As you remember, last year we gave them $600,000. This year we're reducing that amount to $500,000 because they've raised $140,000 through private grants and meetings. We expect this is one way we're going to be sustainable to slowly reduce the amount that we give them and make them more sustainable over the upcoming years with different foundations as well as other funding mechanisms. So the $500,000 would be basically re-upping for another year on that. Next, item 3 is $250,000 for Middle Georgia Justice Project. Judge Adams is here today. He'll be happy to answer any questions if you have for him. But basically, this is a 2-part analysis. His nonprofit has done an excellent job in many areas, but 2 specifically that I think is very important to our community. One is making sure that people that have had a hiccup, a setback in their life through the court system, we want those folks to be a vital part of our community and be able to work and earn a living for their families so they don't revert back to the ways that may have got them in trouble in younger ages. So he's working and clearing up some of those records that they have out there so they can become employed. And part of this money will be used to doing that, almost like a help desk, but a place where people can go that have, perhaps something that need to be expunged off their records so they can get jobs. Part of the money will be used for that. The other part of the money will be used for helping us clear up titles on properties. We have a lot of heirs property. We're trying to stop before it gets blighted. At the same time, we're trying to get this property into people's name where they can borrow money, maybe do improvements so we don't have to tear down homes. So he's using that money, but I'll tell you that he's received as much of this money. One thing I talked to him early on when we spoke about this, we told him the same thing we've told everybody since the beginning. Go out there, do your due diligence, get you some money, and he's been able to get several grants. One from the state bar, I believe, IOTA, and another one from Wells Fargo, I'm saying that correctly, and at least one more that he has received, and this is a match funds. And we have told him if you go out and get that money, we'll try to help you match it, and this is that proposal. Item 4 is $70,000. I see Jake Farrell with us today. Thank you for being here, Jake. He's with the Loaves and Fishes Ministries. Same thing. Mr. Farrell has worked hard, and we have done letters of support like we did with other organizations, and he has received $70,000 from 3 or 4 different organizations as a match for his program. So this will be matching that for $70,000. The last one you'll see, well, actually not the last one. The next one you'll see is $200,000. This $200,000 is to make up some shortages for the Middle Georgia Community Food Bank for some anticipated or unanticipated costs, including some stormwater and some other type of utilities that needed to be done. We're excited about that project. As you recall, we put in about close to $1 million on a $4 million project with that match, and this is kind of tying up the loose ends on that. The final one is $723,496. I saw the director, Craig Ross, here today. This is a Macon Transit Authority. In order to not have to shut down routes and to be able to meet the rising costs and gasoline needs, they were able to tap into some funds from, I believe, the state ARP funds. And in exchange for that, if we would agree to do a match for $723,000, they would get $723,000 for the state to make up those and keep those routes open. So that's it in a nutshell. I'll be happy to open the floor for questions for any of these particular folks. and we'll be voting on this as a group unless there's any amendments at the completion of that. So this time I see a light on for a couple of commissioners, and I'll start with Commissioner Watkins.
Thank you, sir. My light was actually on concerning a previous item. I would like to amend the agenda to discuss the speed zone cameras and the parking meters, particularly the speed zone cameras. We've requested this conversation a few times. As it relates to the actual item on the agenda right now, I have actually no questions, but I will just mention I sent a couple of written questions. I would love to get those answered, hopefully before the next time we meet. I would appreciate that. But again, when appropriate, I would like to discuss the speed zone cameras maybe after this item concludes. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Watkins. Anyone got a question regarding this particular item we're on? Commissioner Wynn?
Yes, sir. This pertains to our particular item. First of all, I want to commend these people for, I think you found matching funds for all of these donations, and once this money is gone, which it will be, hope you'll keep your donations that you got this time as matching coming forward somehow, because our ARP money is not going to be around after this. So I commend you on what you did, and I'm glad you're getting the money, especially on the various ways we're using it, helping all segments of our community. But think about the future where you're going to not have the ARP funds, but you'll need to have more funds coming in. So consider how you're going to fund it in the future, your matching funds. But congratulations for this.
Thank you, Commissioner Wynn. I think that's an important point to make. One of the things we've tried to do with each of these organizations is to make sure we have sustainable programs. When we go to other foundations and other avenues, we're always looking for, just like we did on the Brookdale Resource Center, we want to make sure that we're just not throwing money at a problem and we're going to walk away and wipe our hands of it. We try to get some stability as well as sustainability for the future. So we're going to continue to do that in all these right here, but we can't let a good program go under because of lack of funding right now. So Commissioner Lucas?
Yeah, some of the comments that you've just made, I was going to say that. I, too, am really, really happy to see the proposals for funding. And I also want to say that a number of these things, mental health, more and more people are talking about mental health issues and how so many more people are feeling a little more comfortable about seeking mental health services, and I think that's just great. And I also want to say that even if these entities had not received additional funding, all of these are worthwhile endeavors, every single one of them, just like having comfortable seating in the Grand Opera House, which we funded. And I have no problem. I don't think I voted for it, but maybe I just let it slide.
You just say it all
But
the time.
anyway, all of these are important items, and I compliment all of you who have worked really, really hard on this. I do want to mention the fact that the Pedestrian Safety Review Board has received a grant, and part of it is to deal with homelessness. And so I would strongly encourage, recommend that Loaves and Fishes connect immediately with the Pedestrian Safety, Jake Farrell, with the Pedestrian Safety Review Board, and we start looking at how we can utilize some of those funds through pedestrian safety for impacting unique problems of the homeless in the community. So there's another area, but I support this funding.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. At this time, I'll go ahead.
Oh, and Mayor, you mentioned earlier how important it was to vote. Who you have in office determines whether you continue to have support for these kinds of programs or not. So I just wanted to add that. Be careful how you vote today.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas, for that warning. All right, this time I entertain a motion for approval of item 4A. Got a motion by Commissioner Wynn, second by Commissioner Bronson. Was that what I heard? Or vice versa? I'm sorry. Was that? Okay. Motion by Commissioner Wynn, second by Commissioner Lucas. Is Is that right? Okay. I knew it had to be, sound like a female. All right, we have a motion and a second. No further questions. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries unanimously. May be sent to the consent agenda. Thank each of you for being here. The same thing I told the folks earlier. I'd be happy to, if you stay and listen to the rest of our meeting, but there's no shame in leaving early to take care of business if you need to. Thank y'all for being here. Yes, sir. Thank y'all. We're going to move on to item B. Item B is an ordinance to approve a supplemental appropriation from general fund balance to approve various appropriations from other funds as detailed herein, the purpose of funding the Macon-Bibb County Capital Improvements Program for the fiscal year 2023 and a total amount of $36,274,738. Commissioners, most of you, well, everyone has received a complete breakdown of all this money to a T. Which departments, as you know, we have every year, we have our regular budget, and then we have our capital improvements that are a separate request. Each of our departments request certain items every year, and they make a wish list. This year, I think is the largest that we've ever had for capital improvements that we're considering. As you may notice, a large part of that is at the airport. I've got Doug, I want to butcher your last name, Doug F. is here today, that will be happy to answer any questions about the airport because it's a little bit more specific than other areas, and sometimes it could be something that we need a little bit more explanation on. But he is here to answer that because if you look at that number, about $15 million of that $36 million is for the airport, which I believe is one of our going to be our largest economic development opportunities that we have here today. But each of those are departments. You'll notice that we have about $6 million for the fire department. We're finally being able to get all the engines and all the things that they need and the jaws of life and things that they've been asking for a while. And you'll see a substantial amount of vehicles and technology that the sheriff has requested. And I saw Ms. Roberts here a little earlier, I believe, that they've requested, and those items are in there. And then many of our departments, as we look through things like zero-turn lawnmowers in several departments and dump trucks, and we have at least one street sweeper that we need, not just to Macon Water Authority. But all those items this year, we're able to do a lot better than we've done in years past to be able to accomplish some of those things. But at first, I want to, ask Commissioner Tillman, he's got a question first, and then I'll bring Doug up just to talk a little bit about the airport, because I know that's something that's near and dear to everyone's heart, and we're excited about the things that are about to happen out there. This commission has waited a long time to get busy on a runway extension. I know we have the complete support. And now it's time to pay the money. So, Commissioner Tillman, you have something, sir?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Doug Foyer about the airport. I wanted to get an update on the airport, in particular Contour. I think we discontinued services to Tampa, Florida, or did we? And then what's the average of the flights now to BWI, which is Baltimore?
Yes, sir, and good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Commission. So, I can start with this is a healthy request for funding at the airport, but the airport does generate $144+ million annual economic output and about $1 million in ad valorem taxes collected. The airport has significant needs that have been there for quite a while. So, although it is a healthy request, it is necessary in upkeep in this economic engine. So, and I'm happy to go through all those projects with you and explain why they're important and how the community will benefit from them. Additionally, your questions to airline service. Airline service is a great challenge at this time. With the impacts of COVID and the pilot shortage that our nation is facing is very difficult to develop air service. So right now, the fact that we have essential air service in Macon, which is subsidized through the Department of Transportation, is a huge benefit for us. We can keep air service going where communities like us do not have the ability to do that and have lost air service completely or lost some of the service. So with Contour, they've continued to operate. They operated all through COVID. They did not cancel flights or reduce service, I should say. We were impacted pretty heavily through COVID, though, because with Baltimore being our #1 destination, DC was very slow to reopen. So where communities were recovering after COVID, DC's because they did not reopen quickly, it impacted our service a bit. So we were down around 45 to 50% load factors, and now we're running 70 plus percent, 75% as we're moving into our slower season for the next 2 months. In an effort to help pick up that service, we've worked with Contour Airline to get some specials to run. They'll be running $69 each way to Baltimore fares, which is extremely reasonable when you compare them to the cost to go to Baltimore through Atlanta. These are really good rates. So we're hoping to keep those load factors up. We are still in well above compliance or what the DOT requires in terms of passenger numbers. And air service is looking pretty good as we're coming back. So it's a challenging time to develop air service, as I mentioned, because of the difficulties that are facing the aviation industry. So what we're doing now is we're completing an air service master plan that we're working on. We're getting studies from, we'll have a study done that we're getting that will show exactly where the people that live, the residents in our catchment area, which is about a 30 to 60 mile radius around the airport, where they travel, what airline they travel on, how much they pay for a ticket, how frequently they travel, and that tells us where the top destinations are that leave Middle Georgia. So we take that data, and what we're doing now, which is different than what we've done in the past, is we're also capturing cell phone data. So we're getting information provided to us that shows us where people drive from Macon. For example, if they were to leave Macon and go to Fort Lauderdale and stay 3 days and return, that cell phone data is being captured for us. So we'll take all of this data and we'll mix it together to get a total picture of the travel habits of the folks that live in our region. Once we have all that data available to us, we will be working, meeting with carriers on a routine basis and sharing this data with them and showing them these are the top areas that our citizens travel to. These are the numbers of folks that travel, and we'll be able to pair our travel habits with carriers that fit the needs of our community, and we'll pursue them. And that's what we'll be working on soon. The Tampa flight, sir, was canceled some time ago. I think it didn't last very long.
About 4 years.
Yes, it's been canceled for a while. But the numbers to Tampa, South Florida, especially South Florida, Central Florida, are very good. And the challenge that we have is the pilot shortage. It's very difficult to get carriers to commit to a smaller region when they're short on pilots. So they focus on areas that have high traffic and high yields. So, but that's going to be turning around hopefully in the near future. And when it does, we'll have our data and our information ready to go. So when the opportunity arises, our preparedness will help us be successful in that area.
You will, and if you will, give that Contour website, and then if you know, how far in advance for those $69 tickets?
Yes, sir. I'm not sure how far in advance it is, but I will check on that for you, and it is contour.com. You can also go to iflymacon.com, and we'll give you a link directly to that. Additionally, if you go to iflymacon.com, there's links to the charter services that provide service through MGM and Caesars. They provide charter flights to their hotels and casinos, and that is doing extremely well. We just had a flight leave last week. I believe it was going to Gulfport on Sun Country, which is a 737. I believe they had 160 passengers on that flight, and additionally, the flights to Atlantic City are doing really well as well. So the charter flights are doing well. The runway extension is going to help us in that area as well. They'll be able to put more passengers on hot summer days, and take on more fuel, so longer destinations will be within our reach at that time.
Commissioner Bronson?
Hey, thank you once again. So as an avid, I guess, flyer for my case, I worked in D.C. right before COVID happened. So I constantly use Contour Airlines to fly back and forth compared to a 10-hour drive. I can take a 45-minute flight, be in Baltimore, and 20-minute drive into D.C. and I'm at work.
Yes, sir.
So salute to you guys on that end. I would ask, in a sense, you make the statement as far as what people drive and so forth. One thing that came to my mind as far as marketing standpoint, when we start talking about destinations, have we focused in on the vacation destination spots, right? Where we have families that are here that can say, hey, you know what, if I can take a flight to California, I know you just mentioned about the gas situation, the pilot situation, but if I could take a trip to California from Macon, that'll be awesome. And if you just kind of tag on the actual vacation locations, I think that would probably be one thing, because citizens here in Macon, they deserve to be able to fly at a decent rate. I know going to Atlanta to try to catch a flight is a headache. It's a headache. So that's one thing. And as far as the pilot shortage, have we looked at any educational opportunities for anyone that say, hey, you know, I may want to be a pilot? You know, for anybody that's coming out of high school and wanting to go to college and so forth. We have plenty of colleges here. I think we got to open that appetite for that particular deal. And I think we have, like as stated before earlier today by Commissioner Wynn, we have the people. We have great people here in Macon. And I think we need to advance that pool of employee, I don't want to say workers, but advance that pool that we can pull from. So what are we looking at from a marketing standpoint, and what are we looking at as far as educational piece, and how can we as a government body assist with that?
Let me just make one brief comment. We have Middle Georgia State University, who has the top flight school in all of Georgia, and they are growing at our airport now. So we're growing our own, and I think that's going to be something that helps. One good thing about this airport extension, you can't get to California from here without running out of fuel.
Yeah.
So and one way to avoid that, have the bigger planes that we're going to have with the airport extension. So I think that's going to take care of a lot of the problems. But if you don't mind answering Commissioner Bronson's questions, the best way.
Yes, sir. The mayor mentioned Middle Georgia State University, which is an excellent program, and it's a very affordable, relatively speaking, program in the country. It's some of the other competitors like Auburn and Middle Tennessee State who have programs. Middle Georgia State University is much more affordable. So with that being said, on one of the projects that we're asking for is terminal upgrades at the Macon Downtown Airport. You'll see downtown terminal upgrades on the list of projects. That project is to allow Middle Georgia State University to expand the second deck of the terminal. Okay. Right now they have about 120 students, and they cannot put any more students in. They're at capacity. So if we expand the terminal, that will give them much more space. They'll have more classroom space, and they'll be able to add more students to their program. So that is one of our requests, and one of the things that we are doing in an effort to support that. So additionally, we're working, we host a number of tours for younger folks that come in and get them inspired about aviation. Okay. We're just met with a local private excuse me, the words slip my mind here, but it's an entity that is an outreach for children. And it's the purpose of this is to get children, minority children in particular, enthused about aviation. The person that runs this foundation is a Delta pilot, and we're just made introductions, but that's something we'll be working on real soon, and we're excited to do that. I am an aviation enthusiast, and it's in my blood. So nothing excites me more than seeing kids come out to the airport and take them around and seeing them get enthused about it as well. So that's a program we're really happy to get going. Awesome. As part of that. Yes, sir.
I would encourage you, and I'm pretty sure you already have, Dr. Sims, our new superintendent for Bibb County. He has been working on different projects, and I'm sure that he will be excited to hear about this project as well. We can tag team with him.
Yes, sir.
Definitely reach out on that end. There are a lot of kids that would love to see pilots that look like them. So just hearing the concept of what you're already working on now, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So
Thank
yeah,
you, Commissioner
that's all I
Bronson.
have. Thank you.
Commissioner Howell?
Doug, first, thank you for what you did. Second, you know my background, and you know that airport stuff's near and dear to me. Third, I want to say that the money we spend at the airport is a lot like tourism dollars we spend in Macon-Bibb County. For every dollar we spend at the airport, we're going to see hundreds of dollars come back. From a pilot's point of view, I understand that a lot of folks may not understand how close we are to Bravo airspace from Atlanta, so it's not like we can just add 4 or 5 new airlines into Macon because of that. Number two, it's the chicken and the egg, kind of like with the airport runway extension. We've got to get that done first before we can start landing airplanes, passenger planes large enough to fly to California or some of these other places. So there's a lot of things that have to be done in sequence and logistically. But you know, on a personal note, if it was my choice, we'd be spending twice this much on airport, and I think this is a good start. I'm really interested in, you know, a couple months ago we talked about a new FBO, which is, for those that don't know, is general aviation, private pilots, and the stuff. And you know, I was disappointed to see that we pulled out that there's not money in here for new hangars, because again, if we build it, they'll come. But I think this is a great start. I think it's the economic impact it's going to have and the drive it's going to make for new jobs. It's not so much, in my opinion, about passenger planes to Macon, because it's honestly it's not that hard to get on Groom and go to Atlanta Airport. But it's all the side things that come in. It's freight. It's Dean Baldwin and those kind of folks that work on planes. It's just Macon is the spot, and I'm excited about every dollar we spend out there.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Howell. Commissioner Wynn?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, too, for what you do. I'm glad to see the amount of money that's being allotted for the extension of the runway. I ditto what Commissioner Howell just said. So this is means so much to our community, and once that's done, it can bring in a lot of new flights and a lot of work and a lot of jobs and things like that. I'd like to see training for air traffic controllers, too, somewhere, because that's a big need right now. I've flown on those planes to Gulfport. It's fun, and it's short, and it's quick. It's a lot easier than driving. Same thing, I've been to Savannah to catch a flight directly to New York, and I want us to have something like that, because I think that's a market that we need to serve too. So I'm so excited I'm glad we're using a lot of money, and like Commissioner Howell said, I'd like to see twice as much used for the airport, because that's going to be an economic driver for the community, as well as our amphitheater that we talked about earlier. But the ideas, the things you have, were mentioned here, are things we need. The expansion and upgrade of the terminal itself. If we're going to have more people in there, we've got to have a nicer terminal to come to. But yeah, I commend that we're doing this, because extending the runway is so important as a community. I was talking to somebody just this last week, and they said they'd like to see Macon's airport be the secondary hub to Atlanta, because Atlanta is so tremendously busy that if we extend our runway, we can have larger planes land there and have those planes diverted to Macon to come here rather than going into Atlanta. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see FedEx or UPS or wherever come into Macon versus in Atlanta.
Me too.
Thank you, Commissioner Wynn. Commissioner Watkins?
Yes. Airport is very fascinating. Thank you for all your work. Hey, so this is a $36 million request, which is like a tenfold, if not more, increased on what normally happens. One of the line items for revenue source that I know is $16 million from American Recovery Funds.
That's correct.
Could you elaborate a little bit on that? Is that from the first tranche or the second tranche?
Yeah, I will. Will you mind if we go ahead and finish the airport and then we talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, somebody else asked
Okay.
questions about the airport. I was done.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes, sir. I just want to compliment the mayor and the administration, not only on the amphitheater, but on what was going on at the airport. And I appreciate Mr. Doug Fayor and all his good work there. He's done an outstanding job for a long, long time. You don't have to be a pilot to recognize that. But I do appreciate Commissioner Howell's comments, because he is a pilot and he knows more about the airport than I do. But I appreciate all you've done out there.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. And we will ask you to stay for the next couple items too, but we may get off of the airport for just a second. Commissioner Watkins had asked questions about the funds. As I stated just a few minutes ago, the $2,100,000 and whatever million that we spent closed out the first tranche. So we are talking about the second tranche of money that we received this past April for the second half. As you remember, our American Rescue Plans, we received like $75.9 million in 2 equal installments. Half of it was paid last April and the other half was paid this April. Yes, you will see in here, each of these items here that we have listed designate the source, which we always do. You'll see general fund, some grants, as well as ARP and SPLOST dollars. So regarding your question, $16 million, I believe is the correct number, is the amount of ARP funds out of the second tranche that's going to this CIP. Sorry. Yes, sir.
These are items that the county needs and has needed for some time. I know for me personally, I've asked several times since April for a work session on ARP funds. So to come here today and have 50% of the funds allocated is a bit of a shocker, at least for me. And again, if I'm understanding correctly, that would leave us with about $15 million to discuss. And I know I have pending items that I requested be on the agenda, and I believe other commissioners do as well. So again, in the near future, can we have a work session on what we plan on doing with ARP funds? Because this is, again, half of them. And when this money is, I'm not even sure where all we're doing with this. I'm sure the airport, everybody's great. But a large chunk of what the federal government intended was for marginalized communities, lifting people out and all that type of stuff. And this is 50% of the new tranche that we haven't discussed at all as a body yet, that's been allocated today if we vote yes. And I guess and also I need an update on, the other part is $12 million from fund balance.
That's correct.
How much do we have in fund balance, and how does that impact all of that? Seems to be interesting questions too. $35 million is not a small amount of money for us. But I'll yield and see if there are going to be some answers.
Any other questions? I mean, I just told you that 1/2 the amount that we received, minus $16 million. I don't think that's the half amount, but it's what, $22 million will be remaining after, roughly $22 million after this ARP funds. These $16 million is intended to meet the purpose that ARP was created for. Having a public safety that has the best equipment, technology, both fire and police, is certainly infrastructure that was a permitted use. Some communities only used it for that purpose. I think we used $37 million, and we'll have a handout for you today, if we don't already have them, of the entire breakdown. We're waiting to see how you voted on the earlier measure today to give you the entire breakdown of how every dollar was spent out of the first tranche. There's a few $100,000 maybe, because when we did there may be a few $100,000 there when we did the designated the funds for, say, like the vaccinations, and we didn't use the entire amount. So we'll have some amounts to kind of consolidate there. You got those amounts, Ms. Moore? Or you want to talk about them? I'm sorry.
Out of the first tranche, and I think you really should be proud of what you have decided as a commission to spend this money. When we've talked to other communities, you've made decisions and gotten the money out, and a lot of people really haven't. They were waiting for some, comfortable feeling of how they were supposed to spend it. But when you look at that first tranche, you agreed to $5,020,000 in public health. And that's where we had the vaccination, encouraging employees to be vaccinated during COVID. The violence interventions are considered public health, and the mental health money that you've spent to date. I will also say that between the second and third quarter, the federal government changed a little bit of their delineation of where these categories changed, or how you could spend your money. And so I've now put it into the new categories. So I think you should feel good about $5 million out of your first tranche going to public health. Negative economic impacts, which I think is what you're talking about when we're talking about disadvantaged neighborhoods and communities. you've appropriated $17,300,000 towards that. That's your food programs, whether you were supporting the work at the food bank where we had a matching grant, or the distribution money that you've approved, again, some more, but that's impressive. 2.5 for food and affordable housing, 2.1 million. The services for the unhoused, a little over 4 million. Demo and blight, which between that second and third quarter, the federal government saw so many people and communities trying to do that they've made that an actual category that you can use. And so we kind of got out there and said, hey, this is what we need to do to get to our disadvantaged communities, and I think others did, but again, I think we were kind of ahead of the curve on some of that. Any support of academic service is included in that, which is the Literacy Council, and the aid to tourism. They also changed the revenue and how you could say your loss of revenue during COVID. They first put out a formula, a rather complicated formula, and then they came back and said you can just take 10 million. And so when you count that just taking 10 million, it also allows us to use that 10 million loss of revenue as a match to federal funds. So in this CIP, you see part of the reason we can move forward very quickly with this runway extension that we've been waiting for and talking about for so long is that we can use those ARP funds as matching, which is people who know me in the grants world have long said you don't normally match federal funding to other grant funding, but in this case you really can, and it's articulated in the final review of this, so that's encouraging. And then last year we did about $13 million in CIP, and of that about 3.4 was paid out of ARP as well. So now that you've committed and approved that 2.1 previously, which again is giving more public health and more negative economic impact in those buckets, in the second tranche, you've completed that first 37 million. I'll go back to update that total number, but you're going to see a slight increase in public health. It'll now be $5.5 million that you've committed, and the remainder of that will really fall under negative economic impact. So you've done a good job with that. This commitment of 16 million from ARP for CIP does then begin on your next 37 million. So you have about 22 million left.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. And I will say, just to add a couple of things before we continue on with the question, is we had the distinct pleasure to present our ARP funding initiatives at Harvard just a few weeks ago. And we were asked to be there as one of the few places in the United States that were able to engage our money as quickly as we can, but more importantly, in the manner that we did, that this commission allowed us to do regarding matching funds. We took $37 million and made about $55 million. And I say that no matter whose idea it is, this commission supported it in its entirety and deserves all the credit. There are communities out there who still have their first tranche, haven't touched a penny of that. And this, as Ms. Moore just explained to you, went directly to the people. We also have to consider economic impact type of situations and economic development, which is allowed. And I think we've been very frugal with our money. Quite honestly, if we had paid that whole $55 million, we'd have a lot less. So we're able to get these matches. We're able to do some things as a group to magnify those monies. And I'm not going to harp on this again, but the commission always had the authority to put forth a proposal with the requisite votes to get things passed. And like I said, this money for ARP meets all the qualifications for what the American Rescue Funds were set up for. We had one company in one place in Georgia who used their entire amount to buy trash trucks. That's what they said they needed with their money. Certainly, I believe we've used ours in a better way that meets the needs of our community. And 17 million in negative impact is unbelievable. 5 million in health, unbelievable. Housing, food, unhousing, blight. Those are basic necessities that our community has had that we've reached out to, including addressing the crime issues. After today, if you support this, our airport will be much better off. Our departments will be better off. Our police and fire will be back to where they should be. And we still have $22 million to do the right thing for the citizens of Macon-Bibb County. And we have some time to do it, so we don't have to act as as quickly as we did last time because we're in a better situation than we were before. So we have still some questions. Commissioner Watkins, you want to continue or you want somebody else to go?
I'll yield, but I'll yield for the moment.
Okay. Commissioner Tillman?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. All the funding for American Rescue Funds are geared toward, just as Ms. Moore stated. I don't think that's the issue or the concern. I think the concern is the team and the commission that we constantly say that are approving and support these initiatives, and we do. All of these agencies that are arm of Macon-Bibb County always receive funding, but it has switched to ARP funding, or it has increased through ARP funding. I don't think that's the concern. We have an issue with that. The issue is the decision-making by half of this commission. When commissioners constantly are asking where are the fundings, did we receive the funding, and then you show up and you group all the funding with something like the airport, which is very important, which makes it harder for commissioners to single out or want to deny the funds. All agencies except, I'll go back to Navicent Health, which serves our what we would call our disadvantaged communities, are the only ones out of all the agencies that we used to fund that are not being funded through this process. And the issue has become that it is a single mayor decision that's making these decisions with the support of 4 or 5 commissioners. Just last week, there was a meeting where Leadership Macon came down here, and the mayor stated to them he orchestrated how to get rid of committees because he thought it was the best thing to do and how he was going to run this community. But yet, you sit up here and constantly say, we as a commission did this, we as a commission. And we try to show the community that we are working together. But there are folks that's benefiting, and a lot of folks benefiting from these fundings and this money. And there are a lot of folks that's not benefiting. And those are the folks, a lot of them that's on the ground, grassroots folks, that we have tried to get funding for, such as neighborhoods that are having car break-ins, home break-ins, that just simply wanted something as cameras, computers, etc., that commissioners can't get funding for. And to sit here and allow and see $16 million go toward things of one person's choosing and claim that this is a tired body that's working together is just absolutely not true. And so, and it's hard for us as commissioners to not support everything that's looped and lumped in together. That's how we passed the SPLOST, because we lumped everything in together and we kind of forced people to say, well, you don't necessarily like this, but you're gonna like this over here. And so sometimes life is not fair, but I just want the public to know that we're down here trying to do the people's work. Y'all elected me, not just one person or 4 commissioners. And we're trying hard, and you want to show the public that you can work with your commissioners, you can work with your mayor, but when stuff like this happens, where he's making all the decisions about millions and millions of dollars, it's just not right. It's not right. And the airport is something that we all should fund, and it unfortunately is grouped together like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just want to have one point of clarification. This CIP has been like this for 30 years. It's nothing this mayor has done. You always group it together when you have a capital improvement. I sat here when y'all raised taxes several times and watched you do the CIP as a group. This is not like Pork Barrel where you add some project to get through there. Certainly, if you don't want to support the airport, you can not vote for it. If you don't want to support the fire and police, you cannot vote for it. I think it's a very misleading statement to say this is the first time it's ever been done when you sat in that chair for 10 years and it's been done the same way every single year regarding the CIP. I'm not going to get into a debate today on ARP funds, but As I told you many times before, I don't even get a vote in this commission. I'm the instrument by which it gets out here. We have a charter that we follow to the T, and these commissioners sitting in this seat vote for it, and it's not just 4 or 5 commissioners, and that's also misleading if you go back and look at the votes. So I'm not going to debate that particular issue about it. We've got some good information here today. We've got 4 people waiting to talk, and I want them to have an opportunity to talk before we vote. Commissioner Brunson?
Hey, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First and foremost, thank you, Ms. Moore, for the outline of all that we have done as a commission. I think I'm kind of on the line with this thing, right? So it's one of those situations where, as a commissioner, you have to be intentional about what you're doing. Each commissioner on this board has a responsibility to their particular district, to the particular area. And when we start issuing out money based upon the needs of the community as a whole, that's great. We have done a great job at that piece. What I would like to see, and I voiced this as well, is that as a commissioner, having our own in particular areas that we are responsible behind, is that we have that opportunity to share our thoughts and put things on the table. I know that Commissioner Tillman has an area that he has some concerns with, Commissioner Watkins, Commissioner Howell, Commissioner Wilder, Commissioner Seth Clark, Commissioner Valerie, and Commissioner Lucas. We all have areas that we want to address and concerns that we need to address that we're responsible for. So it's important that while we are issuing out different things, different projects, that there's an opportunity for, and I get what Commissioner Watkins is trying to say, is that we should have an opportunity to kind of have that discussion and say, hey, these are some of the concerns that I have that's deal with my district, and what funding or what ways could we put funding in place, whether or not it's saying, hey, we're going to issue out a particular amount for each district. That may work. But as far as up to right now, I completely support you, Mr. Mayor, and the commission on what we're doing and how we've done it thus far. I just think that with the opportunity at hand, that we be more direct and more intentional to how we're spending the money for our own districts. I yield.
Thank you, Commissioner Bronson. Commissioner Howell?
In a recent trip to Central City Park, I was quite embarrassed at one of our, I don't know if it was a public works truck or a Parks and Recreation truck or what it was, it doesn't really matter. The truck had mismatched wheels. There wasn't a straight fender on it. The bumper was hanging off. It was just a poor representation of Macon-Bibb County. So to use part of this money to fix that, I'm not putting the blame on anybody, but I know that money's been tight in the past, and it's been great to have this little boost of money that we could do something with, and I'm glad to see us use it that way. I looked through the CPI. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there, but it's all good stuff. So, Mr. Mayor, at this time, I'd like to call for the question.
You got a motion to call for the question. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Wilder. We have a motion and a second for calling the question. All those in favor of calling the questions, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion passes. We'll go ahead and call the question. This time, a motion to, excuse me? We have a motion to call the question, and that passed. At this time, we need a motion to accept item B, which is the CIP request for $36,274,738. We have a motion. You got a second? Second by Commissioner Jones. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. 8-1. Commissioner Watkins, thank you. Going to move on to the next item. Next item of business is item 5A, which is a contract for implementation of renewal. This is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Passero Associates with the provision of professional on-call planning and environmental assessment services at Middle Georgia Regional Airport and Macon-Downtown Airport. That's my motion. Can I get a second? Got a second by Commissioner Howell. Any questions? I've got Mr. Doug here to answer those questions. Commissioner Watkins, you got a question regarding this item?
This is the same because I think it's the same money. When it comes to diversity and inclusion and our procurement processes, $36 million is a lot of money, and we're about to spend a lot of money at the airport. What is our plan to make sure that we are using local and diversified contractors?
Yes, sir. When it comes to the federal funding that we receive, the FAA requires us to have a participation plan, minority participation plan, with specific percentages designated. And when these projects, they are required, the contractors are required to hire that percentage of minority businesses, and they are also required to report on that. The FAA does monitor it. Yes, sir.
So of 15 million, what is the benchmark or goal, participation goal?
So the participation goal may vary on different projects. I'm not certain what.
I mean, just overall of the 15 million that we're about to spend, like we're doing the airport, the runway extension, I guess, that project.
Yeah, some of the projects vary in participation, so I'm not exactly sure what that would be
So for
collectively. Yes, sir.
All
Sir?
right, so for just, I guess, give me a rough estimate of a project.
I believe it's 15%. I believe it is.
15%?
Yes, sir.
And
I'm not certain, but I believe that's what it is. Yes, sir.
in the contracts that we have today, is the 15% represented in any way?
In the contract we have today, I'm
I know
sorry.
we got look like 2 or 3 contracts from the airport. I'm not sure for how much. It's not.
So
Is the 15% represented in these contracts?
For the engineering piece of it, the FAA requirements are for the capital projects in which they fund over 100,000. So this is an engineering service that doesn't have that requirement on it, but they do use subs, minority subs, and I'm not sure what the percentage of it is, but the firm itself isn't required.
Okay. Any particular questions about this particular item that we're on? My commission? We do have a motion and second. There's no further questions. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries to be sent to consent agenda. Item B is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Goodwin Mills, Kenwood, for the provision of airport consulting services at Macon Downtown Airport. As my motion, can I get a second? Second by Commissioner Bronson. Any question regarding this item? Seeing no questions, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and be sent to consent agenda. Item C is a familiar item, the resolution authorizing the mayor to approve the right-of-way spraying contract with NatureChem in the amount of $145,000 to be paid from Parks and Beautification budget, contract labor, contractual services line item. That's my motion. Can I get a second? Second by Commissioner Jones. Questions by commissioners? Seeing no questions, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. Commissioner Watkins? Thank you, sir. That motion will be sent to consent agenda. Item D is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Peachtree Recovery Services for the property damage recovery service, as well as some other items. And before we begin on that, we have everyone here for that?
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Moffitt, we'll hear from you, sir.
Yes. In the interest of time, I do have a representative from Peachtree Recovery. Summary is we entered into this contract about 3 years ago, where they are the company that facilitates damages on our roadways at a percentage back. I believe that was before 17%. Whatever they recovered, and it's a contract through GMA, which is one of the services offered through our city association. They've been very well. The monthly reports I include in my county manager's report. But in the interest of pedestrian safety, they have a program where they will help us with the research, and they will report that they will give that information to the Pedestrian Safety Board. We've been talking about this for the last 6 months of how do we go out and do more research on pedestrian accidents. They already have a program in place. As I was looking for a program, this came up, and why not add it to the scope of services when we renew this contract? The only difference is to add that scope of service, that the contract amount will go from the 17% to 22% in retainings of what they collect for us. In your monthly reports, I tell you how much they collect each month. Again, they do great work for us. We do have the representative. He does have a presentation if you would like to see it, but that is the only change. I'm adding the scope of service, and that information will start going to the Pedestrian Safety Board.
Thank you, Dr. Moffitt. What is the pleasure of the commission?
They get the 22.
Mr. Lucas, I know that you love the aspect, and we've previously discussed the fact that we're going to allow them to do some pedestrian safety to work side by side with what we're already doing. Do you have any particular questions? I'm not sure how long the presentation would take, but we're certainly here for the duration. We can do the presentation. How long we expect the presentation to take? Yeah, go ahead. I'm just trying to manage our schedule. Yeah. Take your time, allow me to ask questions. I'm just trying to manage our schedule, not worry about how long we'll be here today.
Totally understand. I mean, we're here for you all day, whatever you guys need. If they could cue up that presentation, and basically I'll just try to address the safety aspect of the program and really what the city will be getting. So basically what we've been doing over the past few years is we review the level 1 service here that you see is basically what we've been doing. We review 100% of your traffic accident reports, and we've been doing that over the past 4 years because traffic accidents that damage city property like signs, light poles, things like that have a 4-year statute of limitations. So we've been going through past 4 years of every traffic accident, finding where the damages are, assessing it, invoicing it to insurance companies, getting that money back to the city. And we've done about $345,000, as you can see here on this slide so far to date. What the safety program is going to do is we're going to start out like this top image you see here, creating the heat maps. We're going to do years worth of data. Those heat maps are going to tell us where the high density accidents are in terms of injuries, fatalities, and incidents with pedestrians. And then once we identify those hot spots, we're going to go into creating pin maps. So we're going to look at every accident that's in that hot spot, and we're going to define what are the contributing factors, what was causing that accident, what are the root causes, and then basically we'll determine what potential solutions are, and we'll provide all of that information back to the city. So when we go into a hot spot, if we only have 17 accidents, mathematically that's not enough data. We will go back another year and look at more accidents in that area till we get a really good understanding of what's actually happening that's causing pedestrians to get hit on crosswalks. So it's a little different. I mean, you're looking at a citywide of all the accident reports that are actually occurring. We're going to see all of them. We're only going to focus on the areas where there's a high density of those accidents. So basically, we're trying to solve the problems where they are, rather than come up with some kind of $40 million solution to try to go citywide, because you don't need to fix problems in an intersection that doesn't have a lot of pedestrian accidents. You want to focus on where those accidents are. The thing to think about, though, is that a city is a growing entity, just like you're doing with an amphitheater, extending airports and all that stuff. You're changing the flow of people. That changes the flow of risks. So your hotspot areas are going to constantly move from year to year. So with the contract that you guys have allowed us to support you guys with, we're looking at all of this stuff year after year. So as these hotspots move, we're going to know where those new areas are, and we're going to be able to communicate that information back to Macon-Bibb on here's where we need to concentrate now. Most of the solutions that we provide are technology based. We don't want to do a 10, 15-year project to redesign a roadway to put in bike lanes or anything like that. You guys could probably find some traffic engineers that do a lot more of that. We're more focused on technology that's going to run 24/7. It's not going to interact with the public, and also give us some data back to make sure that these things are working. So not only do we help you identify these problems, we also constantly monitor all these accident reports to make sure whatever technology is put in place is working. If it's not, we find another solution. And that process just kind of continues on from year over year.
Thank you for that information. And I know we met with GDOT on last week for our second summit, and they were very appreciative of having this part of our plan. Mr. Tillman, do you have a question specifically about this?
I'm going to give this to the pedestrian safety, because we've been trying everything there is in this community to slow down pedestrian fatalities, but people that just live in a neighborhood that's familiar with their neighborhood, and especially on Pine on Avenue, just think, they don't pay attention to the sun or whatever. I think it's time to do, Commissioner Lucas, some basic stuff. And that is, years ago, there was a issue of speeders using Vine Ingle area off Vineville to cut through Rogers Avenue and some of those areas. And those folks start posting signs in their yards saying slow down, the traffic and so forth. So I just want to throw this to you guys, that I think some of that funding that has been allotted to y'all, we probably need to start having physical bodies hold those signs, because those signs sometimes on the street, those guys are flipping and so forth, are popular and people paying attention. That we begin to have bodies, whether they're probationers or whatever, with their time, to stand out there on those streets to say different messages with those signs. Because people want to slow down and look and see what are they saying, what are they offering. And I think something basic like that could possibly begin to work, because it just doesn't matter. Every day, somewhere across this community, Pine on the Mercer, whatever, Gray Highway, people constantly figure, I live in this neighborhood, I know this area, and they're just walking across the street. So maybe physical bodies we need to have out there is a way, Commissioner. And because this thing is just terrible, especially when people just keep getting hit. I just want to share that.
Thank you, Commissioner Tillman. Commissioner Wynn?
Sir, thank you. I guess I'm a little bit confused. Are we wanting to approve additional funding for the safety part of this program? I know we talked about 17% going up to 22%. Is that correct? 5% more?
Dr. Moffitt can answer.
Dr. Moffitt, whoever can answer that.
It's the renewal of the contract,
Okay.
but the contract has a change in it, and I'll just make you aware what the change was.
And that changes the safety piece that he's
Correct.
talking about for another 5%.
Correct.
Is that correct? So we're talking about renewing the contract. That contract has to have that new piece in it, or could we stay with what we've got?
We can say what we got,
Uh-huh.
but in the interest of working on pedestrian safety
Right.
issues, this gives us a mechanism to do the research for us, because that's a piece that we've been missing. And so with them already have a system in place that can do this for us and give that data straight to pedestrian safety, I think is well worth that investment.
Okay, well, I know Pedestrian Review Safety Committee keeps up with that, Commissioner Lucas, of where these accidents are happening or these pedestrian accidents are happening. I didn't know how much more beneficial that's going to be, because I think we keep up with the hot spots in Macon.
But it's just more than the hot spots. It's an analysis of everything else that goes on at the time of the incident. It just gives them much more data than that they have at their disposal today.
Well, I'll follow what Commissioner Lucas says the committee should do.
This is, just to answer your question, it's a less expensive, more efficient way to do this job. If we had to go hire a consultant, it costs a lot more money. This is just increasing the percentage they may or may not collect on there, and this is just a renewal of the previous contract that they've been successful in recovering for. So I'll just reiterate that GDOT was very excited about this aspect of this contract that we're doing. It would help us, for example, it's going to help us expedite some things that we're doing. We're calling low-hanging fruit around the Shirlington, Gray Highway, Emory Highway area, specifically as it relates to this project here.
No, I'm totally in favor of this project. I think it's great, and it's obviously provided funding. I just wanted to know what the difference was confirm what the difference was. It's adding a safety feature to it.
Yes, ma'am.
Basically. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Lucas?
I was just going to say that I support this because the information that's going to be provided is more detailed information than we have been able to gather in the past. We've had the Sheriff's Department, and they go out and investigate all of the crashes and all of that. But there's some information from what I've looked at. There's some information that will be very helpful to us, and that takes some of the work out of this. It's a long process and a frustrating process to hear, day after day, month after month of another pedestrian hit, killed, whatever. And I think at this point, having that additional detailed information and then collecting suggestions like the ones that you're making. I don't know whether that'll work or whether you could have, because there's a lot of speeding all over everywhere. But pulling all that together, I think, will help us to decrease the numbers of people who are being killed. And I want to say, too, how much we appreciate the meetings that we've had with GDOT. Our local engineers and all those folks have really gotten serious, and we've had some other of our elected officials who've had some input into this as well, to push them to go ahead and look at some speed reductions. One of the main things with all of that information that GDOT is going to help us with is the reduction of speeds on some roads that are state roads, and we have to depend on them to make those recommendations and then implement some safety measures in there. So I would endorse this and ask us to support it. And what we need to do is just to give the other commissioners a little bit more information, detailed information as to what we're gathering from the GDOT meetings, as well as what's going to be coming from this. So I would urge us to support this addition to that contract.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas. Commissioner Watkins?
As it relates to, I guess, pedestrian and traffic safety, does your company have an opinion on the efficacy of school zone speeding cameras?
Typically, we don't get too involved with the cameras. When we do recommend cameras, typically we're looking at multi-purpose cameras, not just for speeding, but using technologies like LiDAR, where you're going to be able to track cars coming into the area, pedestrians coming into the area, have a camera that's going to be able to track everything, not just looking at the speed of a single car. We haven't specifically looked at the speeding issues in the school zone areas, but that is something we can look at, because we can pull years worth of the historical data, probably going back to about 2009, and take a look in these areas and see what kind of issues you've actually had in those areas, and then we make the recommendations based off what the data tells us.
That's interesting. That's interesting information. Again, I would appreciate an update and a conversation about our school zone cameras program, because I just find it strange that they are writing tickets to people when the lights aren't flashing yellow. Just seems like a setup and a trap to just ruin Christmas for folks. And I don't know if it's really having the desired effects of reduction like that, other than surprising people that they broke the law a month later.
We can look and tell in those areas to see if the accident quantities and things like that have been declining. Typically, Macon-Bibb's probably a little bit higher than the average in the state. But in terms of pedestrians, the whole country has had a problem coming through this pandemic with pedestrians. When 2020 pandemic started, you saw a reduction in accidents in quantities by about 40%. Everybody was staying home. Everybody was working from home. So reduction in accidents went down, but fatalities and injuries went up. So everybody was totally baffled, because you saw some cities saw 150% increases in fatalities when you had a 40% increase or decrease in accidents. So there's a lot of things that we've been trying to help people figure out, and looking at all your data is the best place to start.
Thank you. I'd be interested in seeing that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. This time I entertain a motion for approval. I assume, Commissioner Lucas, you'd like to make that motion? Can we get a second? Second by Commissioner Wynn. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item E is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a master service agreement with Georgia Power Company for the design and installation of energy-efficient improvements for the Macon City Auditorium. This is an attempt by us to do some value engineering and our efficiency on utilities at the auditorium, and this agreement is allowing to use Georgia Power to help us navigate that, to save several $1 million on our built auditorium. I'm not sure if Dr. Moffitt wants to say anything else other than that, but
J-
At this
you-
time, I'd entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Bronson. Any other questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. Commissioners, items 6A through 6G are all CDBG. Ms. Jackson is here for that. We will be going into an executive session shortly thereafter, and we have some snacks for you. Actually, we have a lunch for you that we'll have a working lunch for executive session. But I wanted to let you know that, again, for some reason, we tend to spend a lot of time with Ms. Jackson, and that's fine. She does an excellent job. But we have 6A through G. These are funds that come from the federal government, and these are funds that she's charged with following the process that's set out by law, and people apply for to distribute these funds in a manner that they are held accountable for. And each of those are very specific. We've been here several times, and I'm not going to say too much more unless we get into depth conversations, but you know, that's all I'm going to say. Item A is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Home First Housing Resources, granting a community development block grant in the amount of $76,044 for Home First Housing Resources to provide home ownership counseling, foreclosure counseling, and homebuyer education. Can I get a motion for approval? Motion by Bronson, second by Jones, question by Tillman.
Mr. Mayor, I was going to try to answer your question. I can answer it publicly or privately, while we always ask her those questions.
Well,
And
there's history.
Julie Moore actually, in her presentation, gave it to the disadvantage of communities is what we all are always concerned about.
Right.
And, you know, just want to be fair and balanced sometimes. That's why we always question you. How we make it fair and balanced for those folks that normally don't get funding, because we always see some of the same folks get funding. So that's why, Mr. Mayor, sometimes we ask a lot of questions.
Well, I appreciate it. I just thought y'all didn't like Ms. Jackson. She's the one that gets 100 questions, and quite honestly, her ranges range from 5,000 to 28,000, and we spend a lot more time on this helping her out. Ms. Wynn, you have a question?
Well, it's kind. I guess I should ask it here. Do you know how many people have received assistance through? And I'd like to say it on each program we're going to talk about. Do you have that number?
We do have some numbers in relationship to that. And then I also like to add that these are also projects that were brought as a part of our budget earlier this year. This is actually just the contract because we must submit the budget once it comes to you all, that it must be submitted to the Department of Housing and Urban Development for approval. So now we have received those funds and we're coming back with the individual contracts, so there will be more coming before you. For some of the agency, well actually almost every agency here today, we do have a representative. For Home First, we have Reginald Bell. I can have him to come up and talk a little bit about his organization if you would like to do it that way. I can give some numbers, but that's only the information that we have as far as our particular portion. But most of these agencies do a whole lot more than what we can afford to actually provide them funds for.
So you have more participants than you can serve. Is that what you're saying?
Actually, they serve more people than we actually pay for. There's only a small number of funds that for most of these agencies that we actually utilize. Just give you an example, for this particular contract, they have at least 75 or more individuals that have received housing counseling services. That does not take into consideration as far as those agencies that as far as those individuals that may have gotten foreclosure counseling, as far as pre-purchase counseling, or some other type of tenancy counseling. But I do have the executive director here just to talk a little bit more if you like some more in-depth information.
Well, for time purposes, I don't mean to leave him out, but I think we just ought to, sorry about that, Reginald. But, do some of these overlap with, like, say, Loaves and Fishes, and Jake Farrer is still here? Do some of these things overlap with the services you provide?
Services that we provide, depending upon the agency, there is some coordination as far as other organizations is concerned. But for the most part, the services that we have that we're presenting today, that those are the services that are being presented by those particular agencies. There is some coordination on the homeless side as far as some of those individuals are concerned, but there's also some other data to go into that.
Okay, let's move on because I wanted to ask about one of the other ones. Okay.
Commissioner Watkins.
Yeah, so I don't really have a question at this time, but just a comment. We are by nature an inquisitive body. Like, I wouldn't interpret us asking questions as any type of disdain, or especially speaking for myself at least, any type of disdain or ill will or malice towards anybody or organization. Like, I'm truly curious and interested in either the subject matter that's being discussed, because I think it can have an impact on the citizens that I represent, or something about the agency that I care for and want to know more about. That's what I think I'm trying to do, and particularly when I hear the other commissioners asking questions, is what we're trying to do. Brick and mortar building stuff is easy for us laymen to wrap our head around. Some of the programs that you present are more abstract in the service, and like, again, therapeutic counseling sounds like something I want to know about, but just by upbringing, I don't know what those words really mean put together. So I want to follow up on it so I can know how to either get the service for myself or talk about it in a well to my citizens if they want it. And I can't do that if at the time we ask questions I can't, like, it's, so apologies if it comes off to anybody that we are being, again, hateful or anything. We're just curious. So thank you. That was mine.
Mr. Lucas?
I just want to say that all of these agencies, I don't see a single one that doesn't receive funding from other entities as well, because this would not provide the total funding for their entire breadth of services. And I just want to compliment all of them. I just think that the next time around there needs to be a little bit of an increase, if that's possible, and if the applications, well, I know what those entities do, and I know that they can always provide, most have a waiting list. And just recently, there was a lady who actually called me. We took her to vote, and then we had another conversation, and she was having to move, elderly, and she needed assistance, but she couldn't access that assistance, and it was in one of these categories because there was no more funding in that bucket. So I know that they provide a lot of services. I've referred people, I think, to every single one of these agencies, and so I'd like to move that we approve all of them, all of the.
I take that as a block vote for A through G. We have a second. Got a second by Mayor Pro Tem Clark. Commissioner Wynn, you have a specific question?
Yes,
you wanted to
I do,
ask?
if you don't mind. This question came up last time on B.
This is about homeless transportation?
Yes, sir.
Let me answer that question in the most.
No, I'd like her to answer.
I know, but let me answer it just so we're on the same page, so I'll have to keep doing this. I just want people to understand, and I'm not talking just at you, I'm talking to everybody, that there are many definitions for those that are experiencing homelessness, and folks may be considered homeless under one definition, even if you live in an extended stay, or maybe you sleep on a sofa because you don't have parents and you sleep with someone else, or maybe that you're in a house that's got 12 people that have 2 bedrooms. Those are also considered in legal definitions homeless. So when people need transportation, those could be some of the people that are being served in order to get to and from very important doctor appointments like dialysis and things of that nature. So I don't want people to get the wrong idea that the only people they ever see that are experiencing homelessness are people they may see on the streets or maybe by a bridge or in a park. So having said that, she can answer the question, but I think that we need to be very careful about our running these different verbiages out there when we're talking about people. So Ms. Jackson, if you don't mind, if you can answer that question better than I did.
I just need just a few examples of the transportation, where you've taken people. Thank you for your answer, but I'd like to hear what the horse's mouth has to say about this.
So with this particular organization with Macon-Bibb EOC and the transportation funds, these are for individuals in several different categories. One category for those individuals that may be homeless, that may be in the process as far as housing search. So with some of our agencies, they receive rapid rehousing funds. Well, that also includes, as a part of that, that looking at that unit, everything else, although a case manager has been identified as far as those individuals, they still need to get to that particular unit that has been identified with regards to that. The other portion is for medical services, that for medical services for those individuals that are trying to get here and there. I'll be honest with you, it's very difficult to walk from South Macon to East Macon if that happens to be where your appointment is. So with these particular funds, that they are actually receiving bus vouchers as far as the funds are concerned, and then it also helps as far as paratransit. I do have a representative, which is Carlton Williams, that actually helps with that. So it's not just for individuals with that agency, it could be for other locations as well that may refer to him. So that could be individuals at Salvation Army that need to be transported, also for jobs. That sometimes that individuals, even though they're homeless, they're going to work every day. Well, how do they get there? So with the bus tokens, that is an opportunity for those individuals to move to the next level and hopefully out of homelessness.
That's the kind of specific answer I would like to have heard, Commissioner Watkins. I like to ask questions because I want to understand where these things are going, but these all make sense, Ms. Jackson, and I appreciate your specifics about that. I want to ask one more question. When you run out of funding, because Commissioner Lucas says sometimes you run out of funding on some programs, is there somewhere else you can refer to another agency, like, and I'm going to say because Loaves and Fishes is here, where you can refer folks for that additional help when your funding is running out on these programs?
So what happens is we receive a direct allocation each year from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Unfortunately, for that allocation, we can only spend 15% of that toward the social service type things, which are the things that Commissioner Watkins mentioned that are harder to really gauge. And from a federal standpoint, they want to know what the numbers are and everything else. Normally what we do as far as other organizations is try to encourage them to also apply as far as the foundation opportunities. There's also opportunities through the Department of Community Affairs, depending upon what type of organization or service that's being provided. So anything that we hear about, there's also a foundation book or website that I normally refer people to that they can go on as far as grants.gov, some other places that they may be eligible to actually apply for additional funding sources.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of need in our community for a lot of these services. I just want to make sure that the monies we're having allotted here giving us all our bang for the buck, if you will. Just make sure that these people are being serviced as best as we can with the funding we have. And when you run out, where do they go and how do they know to go there? Hopefully your agencies will help with that. Okay,
Yes.
Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you, Commissioner Wynn. We did have a motion to consolidate all these items 6A through G, and that was accepted. So we do have a motion and second. If there's no further comments regarding these items, we'll take a vote. All those in favor of items 6A through 6G, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries unanimously. Be sent to consent agenda. Going to move on to item 7, which I know that you're all been waiting on. This is item 7A, a resolution authorizing the planting of native plants and pollinator gardens in Emerson River Park as adopted by the Fringe Campion chapter of the Georgia Native Plant Society. That's a lot to say. Ms. Beavers, you can give us a very brief explanation of that. Everyone's got a nice diagram, including their package, on how this pollination works and where it would be at.
All right, I will give a very brief overview because we have Dr. Carol Bokros here with us who wants to give you a little bit of a talk about it. Michael Glisson, our Parks and Beautification Director, was contacted by the Fringe Campion Society of the Native Plant, the Fringe Campion chapter of the Native Plant Society, about installing a pollinator garden in Emerson River Park. They've been working with him on that. This is before you specifically because they want to sell fundraising opportunities in order to fund the installation and maintenance of that park. And on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Bokros.
I'm sorry? Yeah. Hello, I'm Carol Bokros. I'm the chapter, here it goes, of the new, of the Georgia Native Plant Society, and we've been working with Mike Glisson to install some native plants and support our native pollinators, which are the keystone species in all of our native wildlife. Any questions about the project? I understand you have some exhibits, and I don't want to take too much time. We have an area chosen, and we have a team of volunteers that are ready to go. And questions?
I know you're excited about this, and I appreciate you being here today. Mayor Pro Tem Clark?
I just want to be added as a sponsor, and I'm a big fan of Dr. Heather Bowman Cutway and her work with it, and so this is really cool.
Yeah, yes. She's working with us. Yep.
Commissioner Bronson?
Same deal here. I'll be added as a co-sponsor as well. Thank you for choosing Emerson Park, and we look forward to supporting it.
Everybody uses it. It's perfect.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here today. This time I'd entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Commissioner Bronson, second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries to be sent to consent agenda. Now we're going to move on to the second item. Item B is a resolution authorizing the acceptance and installation of a plaque and planting of dedication of a tree in the Amerson River Park in memory of Queen Elizabeth II, as donated by the Winship chapter of the Daughters of the British Empire. And this was brought up around the time that we had the ceremonies before, but we couldn't get that on the agenda. So, Ms. Beavers, you will tell us a little information about that as well.
Yes, sir. Director Glisson again was contacted by the Daughters of the British Empire back around Queen Elizabeth's Jubilee. However, we were unable to work out all the details of that donation. At this point, they've come back and they have a better idea of what they want to do. Director Glisson has approved either, I believe, a red maple or an eastern redbud. So that will be donated by the Daughters of the British Empire, and I believe that installation will actually be done with our Parks and Beautification staff to ensure the solidarity of the park.
Thank you for those comments. Can I get a motion for approval? Motion by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Bronson. Got a motion and second, no further questions. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries, will be sent to consent agenda. Items A through C are all streetlight approvals. Does anyone have an appetite to include all those as one vote? That was a table. We're going to bring it back off the table? Yeah. So we went in and put it back on the agenda, so I don't think there's anything we need to do. Got a motion by Commissioner Tillman for consolidation and a second by Commissioner Wynn. Now we'll take a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. All three of those carry unanimously. Commissioner Clark, do you have something? I'm sorry.
I would just want clarification about the table and process of 8A.
I can put it on the new agenda. We have to untable it. We'll do it out of abundance of caution. I don't think it's necessary, but
I was just curious about what changed from point A to point B. That's all.
okay. Then we don't need to do anything. We do have a need to go into executive session, and we're going to do that at this time. I make a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of speaking with county attorney and legal counsel to discuss pending or potential litigation settlement, all of the things allowed by law. Can I get a motion to go into executive session? It's not a new item of business, is it? Yeah. Well, we'll talk about it after we get out of executive session. Yes, sir.
It just slipped my mind, but I just wanted to form commission that.
Oh, well, yeah, we're planning on doing it at the end. You talking about?
No, I was going to say we have some
well, let Tillman, if he's going to talk about a death, an untimely death of somebody.
No, I was going to say we have students from Karobe, Japan here, from our sister city. We're going to be doing their honorary ceremony about 12:30 down at Sports Hall of Fame, because I didn't know about the schedule here today. So once you're done for the day, if you want to swing by Sports Hall of Fame, just say hello to the students. They'll be leaving on Wednesday.
Thank you.
And
Commissioner Tillman, I think a lot of the
Yeah, just before we leave, I just want to say, because we've been here working, but want to send our condolences and well wishes and thoughts out to Mama Louise, who passed away today. H&H has been so dear to many of our hearts and minds, and that family and folks that strive to just continue the legacy through her mission and her vision. And I just want to share that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. All those in favor of going to executive session, please say aye. Opposed, nay. We're now in executive session. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Somebody in the hallway over there. Got a motion come out of executive session? Got a motion, get a second? Any discussion? All those in favor come out of executive session, please say aye. Opposed, nay. We're now in executive session. This concludes our business today. We would like to, Commissioner Bronson would like to remind everyone that he has a town hall meeting this Thursday at Rosa Jackson at 6 o'clock for anybody that can attend. And you can look at our Facebook page or read the hub for additional information regarding the town hall forums. This time, all the meetings has been concluded. We've had a great day. Remember, get out the right to vote today from 7 to 7. Polls are open to that time, and hopefully we'll have some votes tallied by the end of the week. This meeting is hereby adjourned.